So the country's corruption rot seems to be deepening. There is a new Deming report now against the Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane, an investigation by Public Protector Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, and that office reveals that the Premier improperly benefited from funds meant for Winnie Madikizela-Mandela's memorial service. Let's bring in the Public Protector now, Advocate Busisiwe Mkhwebane, to speak about this report and other reports that she released this afternoon. Public Protector, thank you for making time. Welcome. Just help us understand how the now Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyane, benefited from this over 1 million rand that was meant for the memorial service for Mama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela.
Good afternoon, Clement. Good afternoon to your viewers and your listeners. We received a complaint from Mr. Mashukuta in 2018, and this matter was investigated by the Eastern Cape Office of the Public Protector. And Mr. Mashukuta was alleging that the Eastern Cape Provincial Government and the Bizana local municipality committed maladministration and corruption, especially after there was a media report in the Herald named Bishop Boss's 2 million piggy bank. So we then investigated, because on receipt of the complaint, the matter is recorded, and we determine whether the matter falls within our mandate and whether indeed the state monies were utilized, especially where there's abuse of state resources and where there is also unlawful benefit to the public servants. Then on investigations, we determine, in fact, there are two matters which we identified for investigation, whether an amount of 1.1 million in respect of the memorial service of the late Ms. Madikizela-Mandela was irregularly deposited into the bank accounts of Mtombeni projects. And the second one, there is another 2.2 million, which originated from the Eastern Cape Provincial Government, which was paid as well into this Mtombeni projects by Key Spirit Trading. So the Mtombeni project, it was discovered during our investigation, and even we had to interview Mr. Bam, who is the owner of this Mtombeni project. There are two, we have affidavits to that effect, where we had to find out why monies were deposited into his company's bank account when he has not delivered any services for the goods, especially for the transportation of the community to the memorial service. And the second one, why the 2.2 million of the state was paid into his account when he never delivered any services for the Eastern Cape Provincial Government. So there's evidence in our possession which then shows the monies, how they move from the Mr. Bam's account or Mtombeni projects into this company, which is called Mr. Muran's company, which was renovating the house of Mr. Mabuyane. And there is also, there are emails which confirm the monies which were deposited and that it's for the renovations. Some monies went into the personal account of Mr. Madikizela. I must indicate that Mr. Mabuyane by then was the MEC for Economic Development. Mr. Madikizela was the Treasurer General of the ANC.
Yeah. So just to confirm that, you've got these millions of rands that are deposited into this private company for no work that was done, and then money flowed from that private company to go into the then MEC of Economic Development in the Eastern Cape, who's now the Premier of the Eastern Cape, Oscar Mabuyane, and also the now MEC for Public Works, who is Babalo Madikizela. How much are we talking here? From your report, I'm gathering that the current premier received about 450,000 rand in personal gain, and the MEC Madikizela received about 350,000 rand in these ill-gotten gains. Are those the right amounts?
Yes, on the first 1.1 million, which was meant for transporting the public to the various memorial services venues, out of that, 450,000 went to benefited Mr. Mabuyane, and then 350,000 benefited Mr. Madikizela. Then the 280,000 was paid into the ANC account, the fundraising account. And then there is this 2.2 million, which the company which rendered service, in fact, the money which was paid by a company called Key, it's owned by Mr. Pala. This company was delivering services for the big machines, like your plant machines, to the Eastern Cape department. Yeah. But then the money which was paid to this company was 38 million. Yes, for the goods and services, which I think it's fine. But then this company paid 2.2 million into the account of this Mtombeni projects without doing anything. And Mtombeni projects Mr. Bam confirmed that the money which was paid into his account, then he was called by Mr. Madikizela, who then instructed him to redistribute the money to various proxy accounts. So the monies then benefited various officials or even the very same executives, but it was paid to as a proxy account. So out of that 2.2 million, that's also, it means it's more money which then benefited these two official executives.
I see that it's been reported that the Premier has now responded to the report, calling it madness. He says that he rejects it with the contempt it deserves. What remedial action have you proposed in this regard?
The remedial action which has been proposed is that we've referred this matter to the DPCI. Actually, they are investigating the matter. But then in terms of the Public Protector Act, we are obligated to refer any matter of which falls within other institutions' mandate, like your DPCI, in terms of Section 6.4 of the Public Protector Act, who then have the mandate to investigate criminality, or if there's any crime which is committed in terms of the Prevention of Organized Crime Act, or in terms of the Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activities Act. And I must say that the Premier was approached or was engaged during the investigation by the Eastern Cape Office of the Public Protector, and the Premier and Mr. Madikizela and everyone were served with the Section 7.9 notice. They were told as well what evidence we have in the Section 7.9 notice, which I would call is a draft report, showing as well where they are implicated and then the evidence in our possession. So yes, unfortunately, there is that culture in the country which has developed where the members of the executive will then label the public protector like how he's now reacting, without reading the report and also getting why we had these findings. And we've referred this matter to also the provincial legislature to discuss and deliberate. Our intention also is to make sure that there is no repetition of something like this. When monies are allocated for a particular project, let those monies be utilized. And it's so concerning, Clement and listeners, Uguti, the very same Eastern Cape, we issued the Nelson Mandela, the late Nelson Mandela's report. The same thing happened with how the monies were spent for the funeral of the late President Nelson Mandela. So the same thing, they are doing it, and it means whatever we are trying to do, because this month we are trying to make sure that it's Good Governance Month, and how can we support ethical leadership and support a developmental state where we try by all means to eradicate instances like this.
Yeah. No, it's just shocking, Advocate. And just as I let you, as I let you go, I have to congratulate you for making it to the 8 nominees for the position of Chief Justice. You have been nominated. How are you feeling about it? And do you think you're standing a chance? Are you looking forward to the process?
I feel honored and humbled by the Democracy in Action and by South African Natives Forum NGOs, and that's all I can say, Clement. I'm still surprised, and indeed, the position of the Chief Justice, as we all know, is the highest court in the land, but then also which will have to make sure that the apex court indeed is serving South Africans, and as well we will receive justice for all. And I think I would just say I'm humbled.